I read and reread my notes for the show, and I don't think I understand the topic for this episode, but boy, is my face red because of it. I've never felt so unprepared. I worried this might be a red flag to the quality of the show. I tried to go to Reddit to give me some ideas, but no luck. You might think the word red might have something to do with this episode, but that could just be a red herring. The color red on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 That's time for the show. Yay.
What?
Hello and welcome to Attack of the Killer Podcast. Oh, I ran out of breath there for a second. What the hell?
Is your face turning red?
Oh, Jesus.
Be prepared for a lot more of that, folks. I am your host, Insane Mike. This is episode 310, where we are going to be talking about the color red. Movies with the word red in the title. You know, Hunt for Red October, Where the Red Fern Grows.
Red Dragon.
Red. So crack open a Red Bull and get ready for this episode. If this is your first time listening to the show, I'm sorry. Attack of the Killer Podcast is a horror movie podcast where a group of friends, we get together with a topic and discuss films within that topic. We're just friends hanging out, having a good time talking about Red. So there may be spoilers. If you like the show, though, I do recommend you become an attacker. What's that, you say? An attacker is a very special person in this world that helps support the show, but also becomes part of the Attack of the Killer Podcast family. And when you do help support the show, you get all kinds of cool perks, like bonus episodes of, our YouTube shows. You can get a t-shirt. You can get original art by me called Mikey's Monsters. You can get all kinds of cool stuff. You can get invited to our exclusive chat, Attack of the Killer Chat, our monthly horror hangouts, and even our watch parties. So much cool stuff, so much cool content by becoming an attacker. Now, how do you do that? You go to jointheattackers.com. That's right, jointheattackers.com. Go there, check it out, pick the tier that you want, all kinds of great perks, and you could be a cool attacker just like these amazing people.
Timothy Lenner, Roman Doppelfeld, Larry Watanabe, Brett J. Royer, Seth Key, Jessica Irish, Chris Cook, Brian Godsell, Stephen Sitter, Brandy Moore, Andrew Mahler, Rod Hutchinson, Carmen DeHague, Abraham Ariano, Andrew Bentler, Casey Kelderman, Tony Miller, Mike Clayton, Rose Talashoma, Abe Kirshner, Lisa Cavalier, Holly Berg, Bill Fisher, Emily Randolph, and Greg Dedrick.
You too can be on that list as well. You could be just as cool as those people by going to jointheattackers.com. I'm going to say it one more time. Better write it down. That's jointheattackers.com. And now it's time to introduce you to the podcast crew. He wanted to know his future, so he went to have his palms read. And he's still trying to get the paint off. Brian.
Oh, everything is a red flag to the quality of this show. Hello, everybody.
He grows his own strawberries. He felt he had a little... He felt bad for the little ones because their parents were in quite a jam. Jason, everybody.
Oh my gosh. When Mike said earlier that you become an attacker, you're in the family, that's very true, because once you're in the family, you can't get out. You're stuck there. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening.
His wife spilled red hair coloring all over the bathroom. It looked like someone died in there. Tad.
I'm ready, guys. Let's do this.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Oh, this is going to be fun, guys. A lot of great red puns. I'm loving it.
Uh-huh.
Proud of all of us.
Uh-huh.
But now I'm going to turn it over to Tad. The Tad. And he's not just Tad. He's the Tad. With what we watched.
What
I'm so excited because I have a killer list of things I've watched. I've been to the theater 3 times, but I'm not going to go first. I'm going to throw it to someone who I know watched a movie that I also watched, Brian.
I suppose you're talking about Ghostbusters: Frozen
Yes.
Empire. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Anybody else see it?
I
You
did
saw
too.
It?
Yeah.
Hell
Not
yes.
yet.
I really, really enjoyed it. I don't think I even watched a trailer for it. I went in pretty much
Cool.
knowing nothing. The little local theater over in Clear Lake is where we went to see it, and because they had advertised on their Facebook page that they had some of the Slimer popcorn buckets, but they were all sold out because we didn't go opening night. So that was kind of a bummer. But not that I need another damn popcorn bucket anyway. But that's not what we're talking about. I really enjoyed the movie. It felt like a feature-length episode of the cartoon.
Ooh,
And
cool.
it was just fun and silly. The third act was a little rushed. I do have some minor complaints about it. It's not like I was just wide-eyed with wonder. Like those of you who just
Like some
listened
of
to our
us.
bonus episode will know what we're talking about. But yeah, I just had a lot of fun with it because I didn't really have any expectations for it other than, all right, Ghostbusters, entertain me. It's an IP I like, but it's not something that I was ever rabid for. If that,
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
so I don't have that real deep emotional connection, but even a lot of the people I know who do have that deep connection to it really, really enjoyed it. Dan Aykroyd was a standout. I thought he was really, really fun.
He got
as
some
Ray.
good time in this one.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Great.
I like some real scenes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
let's see, I watched. Still going on that tear of Hong Kong movies. I watched The Witch from Nepal, which was streaming on Midnight Pulp, and I found that one to be actually a little disappointing. That's maybe the first time that's happened to me watching a Hong Kong movie. It's still worth a watch. It's still fun because the end is fucking wackadoodle. But it takes a really long time to get weird. Like, it's just sort of a not great romantic dramedy for a little while, like way too long before wizards start shooting lightning bolts at people and shit. But I followed that up with Wizard's Curse, which is one of the many great movies where Lam Ching Ying plays a Taoist priest. You'd probably know him best from Mr. Vampire.
Of course.
Yeah.
but-
obviously.
Well, Mike, you've seen Mr. Vampire,
Yes, of
right?
course,
Yeah.
I've seen Mr.
Okay, yeah,
Vampire.
thank you. But that one is fucking nuts because this is the one I was posting clips of in the attacker chat again with the devil that has the big like laser wiener that shoots
Laser
out and
wiener?
attacks people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love laser wieners.
Anyway, that's, I don't know. I've probably watched something else, but I don't have my
Okay.
Letterboxd open in front of me, so that's good enough.
Well, we'll jump to Jason because I'm curious to hear what he thought of Ghostbusters.
Guess
Frozen
what, guys?
Empire.
It's going to shock you, but I fucking loved it. Yeah, it was great. I got to go with Spooty and yeah, just what Brian said. It's definitely more akin to the cartoon maybe, which just made it that much more fun. I thought there was some Paul Rudd comedy that was just top notch, just some really funny stuff. Yeah, loved it. But I watched a lot of movies lately.
Just before we get onto those, can I
Yeah.
just say, Ernie Hudson is almost 80, and he looks
Yeah.
like he's Paul
Holy
Rudd's
fuck.
age, if not younger.
He looks like he's 40. He
And-
looks
and good
younger
for
than I
him.
do.
Good for him.
Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd look like they're about to die at any moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bill Murray's younger than Ernie Hudson. Like
That is
he-
insane.
right. Get this. I read this. Ernie Hudson is older than Donald fucking Trump.
Whoa.
You would not know that when you look at
No.
Ernie Hudson.
No,
That's awesome. Good for him.
just show those two humans next to each other to anybody who's a proud boy. Fuck right off.
But yeah, McKenna Grace, she's amazing. She's a star, and she's just
I
She's
can't get
awesome.
over looking at her and just being like, she has to be his like actual granddaughter, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because
like-
there's a scene where her hair really does go up, and it's like
Yes.
fucking wow.
Like their face structure looks the same. Like what are they doing over? Like what is going on?
Yeah. All right, I watched Damsel. It's with Millie Bobby Brown. That new one that's out on Netflix, maybe. Fantasy
Yeah.
thing.
It's in our watch list.
I liked it. I liked it.
checked it out
I thought it was better than maybe it was gonna be. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Thought it was good. I watched Lisa Frankenstein. Fantastic.
Yes, I'm glad someone
So-
else saw it.
So dang good. So dang
It's going to
good.
be on Peacock this weekend, I think. So
Yep.
Oh fuck yeah! I watched Roadhouse, the new Roadhouse with Mr.
too.
Gyllenhaal. So I liked it a lot, but it also but Conor McGregor, who's a UFC fighter.
And definitely not an actor.
He damn near ruins this fucking movie for me, and
He is so over the top.
it's not that if over the top is what they wanted, he's fucking awesome, but like it just I feel like it just hurts the movie. It just stands out. It just it just lives in this reality over here, and then just out of nowhere it's a fucking comic book thing. It's just
is he
Right.
the one who played
Off-putting.
Rocksteady in the second Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie?
Connor. This is Connor's first role.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know who I'm thinking of then.
So he dang near ruined it, but the rest, everything besides him, solid as hell, and really fun cinematography
Yeah.
for action. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like the movement of the camera is just not a normal thing, especially in fight scenes. It just has a way of following the action and the actors. It's really it's worth seeing for that alone. So that was good. I liked it. I also saw Ricky Stenicki. No, nobody.
With John Cena. No, I know what you're
Zac
talking about.
Efron. Yep.
I like everybody in it, and I probably enjoy it as
William
like
H.
a
Macy. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
throw it
a
on and yeah.
Peter Farrelly directed this movie.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, just saying that. So, if you know it's Farrelly, you can feel okay that this Friends getting into hijinks is going to be at least fairly pretty good. Fairly. What
It's
else?
gonna be fairly funny.
Yeah. And then Ghostbusters, and then Anatomy of a Fall. I watched that.
Pretty damn good, right?
Pretty gosh dang good. Really good. Really smart. But casual all at the same time. But yeah, a good Oscar-worthy nominated drama. Ooh, good times. And that's what I watched.
Excellent. You did watch a lot.
I know.
Mike, you didn't watch Ghostbusters, but I'll still
did not.
listen to what you did watch.
Good, he's the host, so that's
Okay. Well, yeah, my list is not as nowhere near as cool as the rest of you guys'. I did watch that Quiet on the Set docu-series.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't want to
sounds
talk.
depressing.
I don't want to talk about it. Well,
Or do you?
Just you'll never watch anything associated with Nickelodeon ever again.
Yeah.
Yes. Turns out Scuzz's name. He lives up to his name.
Yes. And all I can think every time I am talking to somebody about this, all I can think of is like the year of Children of the Corn. We had thought about getting him for Halloween
Oh,
Palooza,
shit.
and so glad we did
Dodge a
not.
bullet.
Yes, exactly.
So is that doc all about Nickelodeon stuff then? So
It's-
I've
yeah.
just heard of it, but I don't really know what it is.
It's not all about Nickelodeon, just the specific time period of the
Children star.
the children
Oh, okay.
shows, and
So that's kind of
the
funny, 'cause
Dan
wasn't
Snyder
just-
produced stuff.
Okay. So wasn't just like a year or two ago there a documentary that came out about
The Orange
Nickelodeon
Years.
that gave everyone all the warm fuzzies? And
Yeah,
all
that
this
was
comes
great.
out.
It
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah.
The Orange Years was great. This one sort of scared me because they start with Mark Summers, and I'm like,
Oh no.
Yeah, but he never goes. They show him talking about like, oh, the slime and it was fun, and then it cuts to like all the kid stars basically being like, yeah, all the adults were drugging and raping us.
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. It's pretty horrific, and it's opened up a lot of cans of worms, which is good. But
Yeah.
just everything is in the world of Nickelodeon is blowing up right now. So.
They uncovered the sealed letters that people in Hollywood wrote in defense to this guy who was charged guilty for sexually assaulting a 15-year-old boy, and all these like James Marsden and what's her name from Twin Peaks, and I'm forgetting her actress's name, but like they dropped a lot of pretty big names, and I'm like, now
names, yeah.
what the fuck are they going to do with like Sonic 3 when this guy's like, he wasn't in the right state of mind when he fucked a kid. It's like these people never expected these letters to be unsealed, and now it's all coming out, and it's like
James Marsden got fucked as a kid, or he did
No.
the fucking?
he wrote a letter in defense, like this
Oh, right.
this person was charged with sexual assault, and he asked all of his like Hollywood friends to write letters to the judge
And there was
to
some Boy Meets World
read.
folks that did it
Yep,
too.
Ryder Strong and Will Freedy, but they both addressed it head on before the show even came out.
Yeah.
Still not right, but at least they're not hiding like these other people.
Yeah.
So
Man, everyone always knew Cyclops was an asshole anyway.
yeah. But yeah.
Haha, I got you talking about it.
Yeah. I still hadn't said that much.
Oh, that's true. What else?
Tad
you
took it
watched?
over. I finally got around to watch. I pulled the Band-Aid finally and watched Sorority Babes and the Slime Ball Ballorama 2.
And
It's everything that I expected. It's horrible.
Trish.
It's just
Dang
that
it.
new era of Full Moon where it's like,
Dang it.
let's just roll a camera for less than 60 minutes and call it a feature film.
Oh man.
And that's Full Moon now. Like, they have not put out a quote-unquote feature-length film in years. Their entire body of work over the past 10 to 15 years are under 60 minutes.
That's not
and they're still
okay.
calling them movies.
But considering the quality of what they're making, isn't that kind of a blessing?
Right, maybe, yeah.
Well, that's the most frustrating part. It's like, you're putting in this little effort and then you still can't get anything of quality on the screen?
I mean, Charles Band always put in the least effort possible. It's just that with the proliferation of streaming and things being content instead of art or even entertainment, the expectations are just so much lower. He's still just doing what the audience is letting him get away with.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, I'm
People
sorry.
quit
I
watching
also-
this shit, he'll start trying harder.
It's also really disappointing because it's directed by Brink Stevens as
Oh,
well.
no.
Yeah, but on a possible bonus episode, we talked about on how a studio hires a director and they're just basically telling people where to stand. Kind of feels like that's probably what it is, because it doesn't feel any different than any of these other modern day Full Moon films.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't want to put all the blame on Brink. I
Well, you
want to
can't
defend her.
because it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly Maroney's in it, and I'm confused as all. Oh my goodness,
Zap. Wow.
the acting, man. I hate talking about acting.
You
but it is
hate
so,
blaming the acting.
It is so bad. So maybe it is Brink's fault, because I always want to blame the director for bad performances. But anyway, yeah, Kelly Maroney's in it, and I still cannot figure out if she is supposed to be playing Linnea Quigley's part or not.
Oh, dang.
Because Linnea's not in it, even though the other two are in it, but their characters are dead. They play ghosts that are also trapped in the trophy with the imp. And yeah, it's just like nothing happens in it. And in the original film, they make their wishes and they go bad, and they either get killed off by their wishes, or they become demons for the imp to attack the others with. And it's just like it's instant wish. It goes bad. They're dead and they're out of the film. I mean, you got like
On to the next.
less than an hour, so you got to get through it pretty quickly. But yeah, it just has none of the charm of the original film. So bummer. I knew it was coming. So, and then the last thing I'll bring up is been on a Jim Jarmusch kick apparently a little bit, and so I watched Broken Flowers for the first time. And this was out of your collection, Jason.
Yep.
Did you like Broken Flowers?
Never watched it because coffee and cigarettes pissed me off too much, so I was out.
Okay. Well, it's definitely much more of a narrative film than Coffee and
Sure, it
Cigarettes.
has to
Can't be less.
Yeah, right.
What would be less? Is like not even.
Why
turning
do you
the
own
camera
all
on.
these Jim Jarmusch? Did you just like buy his filmography hoping for the best, or what?
I don't remember. I just,
Like all of us
When we get
go
crazy.
through spurts
Yeah.
of
He,
just
he
like
was
finding.
impressing a girl.
it's probably. I'm sure that's what.
Well, both of
Put
them.
him on the shelf.
Both of them had. I have a theory. You're such a Wes Anderson fan, and you saw that Murray is in these films of this other extremely independent, avant-garde director that you maybe were hoping. And then like you said, Coffee and Cigarettes. You're like, meh. Anyway, but this one's really good. It's still very flat and monotone. It is supposed to be a comedy, but
It's supposed to be.
it's really dry. And but Murray's great in it. I like the premise because he's this older guy who used to be a kind of a Don Juan back in the day, and it's just kind of living his mundane life, and he gets this letter in the mail saying that he has a kid. He has a 15-year-old kid, but there's no return address and it's not signed or anything. So he goes on this mission to try to find the woman that he had an illegitimate child with. So it's just basically him going door to door, hooking up with his old flames, and as dry as it is, I think there's some really great funny moments in it. So I definitely like it and recommend it.
It's actually a documentary on Bill Murray's life.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, so that's what I watched.
Awesome.
But Tad, what did you watch?
I also watched Quiet on Set, as I said. Very sad. They're putting out another episode now that it had such a big response. So they're going back and interviewing like some of these kids again. I mean, they're adults now, but some of these child actors, former child stars, about the response because Dan Schneider like issued a half-assed apology, and like you said, it opened a bunch of cans of worms. So I'm interested to hear what happens from here on. But I also went to the theater and saw Immaculate, which is the new Sydney Sweeney nunsploitation. I wouldn't call it nunsploitation, but it is a nun horror movie. It did not break any new ground, really, but I really, really loved it. It's intense. It has no fat. It's 80 minutes, and they don't waste a minute of screen time with her, and she's just killing it lately. She's awesome. It's
What else
pissing
is
off
she in? I see like people are freaking out about her, but until the
she-
whole controversy or whatever is going on with her, I'd never even heard of her before.
Oh, she just had 3 really big movies right in a row. She did a like rom-com that was pretty popular. Then she did Madam Web, and then she did this all within like a month. So she's been doing the media circuit nonstop, and she's outspoken, and she's addresses what people say about her openly, and some people love it, some people hate it. But she's not she doesn't filter herself, which I think is awesome. But she originally sort of broke through on Euphoria,
Okay.
which is like an HBO show, and she's sort of like popular with a young audience from that, and now she's, she produced Immaculate and actually like attached herself to the film to get it sold because she wanted it to be made so badly, and used her name to get it made. So it's pretty rad, and Neon's doing a great marketing campaign by using all the things that people think are bad about the movie. Like they're like, it's disgusting and unholy, and they're putting them on top of the poster. I love it.
I say that's what sold me on it.
Yeah.
I didn't know a damn thing about it. I hadn't heard about it coming out or anything, and then you went and saw it and said it was really good, and then I saw that poster and it's like, well, damn, I should probably go see this and support it.
It's lean and mean. It's bloody. But I said it doesn't break any new ground. But I think like if a new generation of horror fans that might go in thinking this is going to be another like Exorcist of whatever, and the first Exorcism, we've had a million movies. This is not that. This is hard. This is pretty harsh. And if anyone knows Neon, they are like sort of in the A24 realm of not afraid to do rad stuff. So I really, really liked it. And like I said, it's like 80 minutes. I'm like, just that alone. If you don't like it, it's 80 minutes, guys.
Yeah, Charles Band.
Yeah. I too saw Roadhouse. Watched it. Jake Gyllenhaal, he will always have me as a fan. He is just so goddamn charming and good that he can make the worst of things great.
Coming like an elephant the whole time.
That's right. References are so good.
Well, I love the original Roadhouse, but I would not argue that it is a good movie. So anybody who's like, man, this reboot really spits in the face of what, like another bad 80s movie,
right.
Like just have fun with it. It's dudes punching each other. It's, testosterone with sort of homoerotic undertones. I mean, just fucking
the stuff we love, guys.
Right. And like Jason said, as someone who never misses an MMA fight, Conor McGregor getting his first role, I was dreading it, and I was right. He's horrible, but he does not cancel out Gyllenhaal. But one of my favorite things has been watching this media round because they've both been doing the media rounds, and Conor has been coked out of his mind.
Oh.
God.
And so they're like on like a morning news show, and Gyllenhaal's being professional, and Connor's just like blinking incessantly and like his like rolling his shoulders and sniffing, and it's like
Jesus.
Yeah, it's bad. And I followed Roadhouse with it just got me in the mood, and it's about that. It's that time of the year, and I had to go back and revisit one of my favorite annual watches, Spring Breakers.
Yeah.
I love this movie because it also is not a good, necessarily great movie, but it's a vibe, man. It is such a weird thing that exists, and I love it. And it's not a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure. I love this stupid movie.
It's fun.
Then
There's
we
no
went
such
back.
thing as a guilty pleasure. If there was the stuff that I like, I'd be in fucking jail, man.
Right.
I ain't
Hallelujah.
And then the next night we went back to the theater, or I guess it was the next day, we went to a matinee of Love Lies Bleeding, which is the new A24 movie. This movie fucking rules. Jason, if you can get to a theater while this is still playing,
I'm going.
If not, you could watch it at home. It doesn't necessitate, like, you don't have to see it on a big screen, I guess, but
See it sooner than later is what you're saying.
yes. So Kristen Stewart is a lesbian who runs a gym in the, I assume, 80s. This like wandering bodybuilder lesbian walks in, and they sort of hit it off. Turns out Kristen Stewart's dad is played by Ed Harris with the fucking gnarliest hairdo and like these 80s glasses, the humongous glasses that people wore in the 80s. I mean, this movie should like hair and makeup when Oscars come around, because I can't even explain how fucking weird Ed Harris's character is. He runs he's pretty much like the boss hog of this town. He runs a gun range, and he collects insects. Okay. And he's a huge piece of shit, and he's completely bald up top, but has like a white skullet that goes down halfway down his back. Dave Franco has like a killer mullet. He's wearing like his jeans tucked into his high top Reeboks with like a Dale Earnhardt mustache and big aviators. Jenna Malone is awesome in it. This movie is just a badass, and the ending is like, what the fuck? I can't believe A24. Just fuck yeah, man. Keep letting people make what they want to make, because this movie is unhinged. When I hear people complain about there's nothing original, I'm like, watch this, go see this, please, because this, I've never seen anything like it. It's awesome. And I also watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and I had fun with it too. And I was like, listening to Brian talk about it, I'm like, he is right on where I am, because I saw Ghostbusters later in life. I love it, but it's not a holy franchise to me. I like Ghostbusters too. I think I like all the Ghostbusters. I even like the women Ghostbusters. I don't care.
Yep, me too.
You know, like, just keep taking me on these fun adventures with these characters. I don't need a whole lot. You know, they're busting ghosts, and it makes me feel good. So, and no spoilers, Mike, but Jason mentioned Paul Rudd and his comedy, and there's a scene where he's like making hints towards the song, and he's like, and it makes me feel good. It's so fucking funny.
So funny.
Awesome.
Yes. So I love that. Had a lot of fun with that. My only wish is like, it feels, it's a good, like, okay, your kids have your new Ghostbusters, but it's like there's so many characters that like Finn, who's from Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. Like, he doesn't get much screen time because there's just we have all the old Ghostbusters and the new Ghostbusters together. It's hard to give everyone enough screen time, but it's still, I think they did a good job. It's still a lot of fun, and I know some friends. Go ahead.
I was going to say the previous one felt like they brought the old crew back to kind of get the new crew off the ground, to get people in the theater. And even though the classic Ghostbusters have a much bigger role in this one felt more like the handing off of the baton.
Yeah.
Like, if they do another one, I'm guessing we're going to see a very minimal, if any, involvement from the old crew, and it'll pretty much just be the new crew, which I'm fine with. Like you said, like, they're all good characters. McKenna Grace is phenomenal. Like, I mean, she's going to go on to do huge stuff well beyond Ghostbusters, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like, I'd be totally happy just hanging out with her family, you know.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. What I love is, like, I have some friends who do hold this franchise near and dear, and they're like just excited to get to take their kids to, like, you have your Ghostbusters now. I had my Ghostbusters growing up, and to, like, they get the popcorn buckets, and they get to and it's like they get to, you know, to bond on something cool. That's fucking cool, you know.
Yeah, for me it was just like, you get to be in that universe for an hour and a half. You know, just being in there is fun.
Yep.
Like, whatever you think about the new Godzilla Kong, you're going to go live in that universe for an hour and a half, and just being there will be.
Don't get that started again.
I'm just trying.
Yeah, you can't see me out there in podcast land, but I'm gesturing, opening cans of worms right now.
Yeah, and that's what I watched. On to the movies, please.
All right. Jason, what's our first movie for our topic today?
Our first movie is a movie that I just can't believe was really made by the director that made it.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's amazing. It's from 2011, and it's called Red State.
What is this, man?
It's like Craigslist for people who want to get fucked.
I thought Craigslist was Craigslist for people who want to get fucked.
We're getting laid, boys.
She wants all three of us.
At the same time.
It's gonna be like fucking my mom. This is what happens when parents block porn sites, man. They make socially backwards kids.
Bet you boys want to get up to the devil's business, don't you?
So get drinking, because I ain't drinking alone. And I don't let no man in me unless he's got at least 2 beers in.
Yes, ma'am.
Guys, is that you, Travis?
Welcome, family.
Good evening, Grandpa.
I hate the wickedness of America. Rampant fornication, adultery, abortion, flagrant sexuality, Everywhere.
Hey, you fucking bitch! Let me the fuck out of here!
And it's up to the righteous to curb the spread of this disease. You mind taking children out now? Gonna get grown up in here.
Send the sinner straight to hell. Send the sinner straight to hell.
God doesn't love you. Unless you fear him.
Yes, sir. It's dawn here now, but we can be fully mobilized and on site in an hour.
Come out with your hands up, and you will not be harmed. Repeat, you will not be harmed.
I think it's the use of the word repeat that makes this work every time.
I never saw the hand of God so clearly in all my born days.
Those government people, they're gonna kill you too. You get down on your knees and pray.
You said this was going to be a simple in and out, sir? Simple just shit itself.
Because I fear God. I fear God. You better believe I fear God.
How much you think a cross like that costs? You mean the dollars or common sense?
Set in Middle America, a group of teens receive an online invitation for sex, though they soon encounter fundamentalists with a much more sinister agenda. Written and directed by the one, the only Kevin Smith. Yep, came out.
Wait, what? Who?
I know, that funny pot smoking dude that doesn't talk. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, this I remember seeing this when it came out, and it was quite impactful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just as real today as it was in 2011, but there's an amazing cast of folks in this, starring John Goodman. I think this might be my favorite Michael Parks performance.
Oh, yeah.
God, he's so fucking good in this. We got some kids. We got Melissa Leo. She's amazing and does such a good job in this. You heard it in the trailer. Maybe my favorite character is Kevin Pollak in this because he's so funny. Like, it makes me so sad when... Well, anyway, everybody dies. So I don't know that I've watched it since then, really, and this is my first time in a long time.
Yeah.
And I used to, I'm not saying it's less, but because I do still hold this movie in high regard as Kevin Smith's best movie. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go that far. But I just, the ending wasn't quite as impactful this time. It even made me question, did this get re-edited somehow? I just remember when I first saw it, when the sirens go off, it was like, pin drop, holy fuck, is this really it? And I just didn't feel it this time. I was just like, it just seemed out of place this time.
Because you knew it wasn't.
Well, I know, but it didn't seem like it was even mentioned before that moment. I don't know, it just felt so different.
Well, even the first time I ever watched it, I've kind of felt like if that was going to go the route it was going to go, which I believe the original script was supposed to go that route, I didn't feel like it was earned at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's Betsy Palmer showing up as Pamela Voorhees at the end of the first Friday 13th. It's like, where did this come from?
Right. But there was still a part of me that hoped it did turn into Dogma Land.
Yeah. Kind of.
But I'm glad it didn't. Anyway, it's good. It's a tough watch, because of the subject matter. It's just, it's hard to hear that.
A lot of the language is really rough to hear
tough,
now.
and but I don't know. I don't really personally know the story, Kevin Smith's story behind it, on the whys and the hows this came to be for him. But
my understanding, this was a reaction to the hate he got from religious groups when he made Dogma. In particular, the West Baptist Church.
So I feel proud of him for that, You know, that like it was more than just Kevin Smith rebuttal. You know, I mean, it ended up being more than.
Yeah, it's like
if only he recorded a podcast about it. Or 300.
Oh.
It says he has this knee-jerk response to the hatred he got from Dogma, but instead of it being an hour and a half of like, fuck you, or this is my reply to you guys, speaking directly to them. It's like he gets a nugget of an idea out of it and runs with it. And then that's where I think Kevin Smith works at his best.
Yes, agreed. And then the reason that I assume the reason y'all can't find this to watch this is because it was produced by the Harvey Boys and the Weinsteins and the Lionsgate, and it's tied up in that junk.
Wasn't this the one though that like
this one isn't actually?
Oh, good.
Yeah, this is the one where he made that big speech when the bidding war was at.
And then he at like a film festival, he ended up bidding and getting it for like $1.
Yeah, and then that's when he started his whole independent distribution campaign thing.
Cool.
That I wanted. If you remember me back in the day, it was like wanting to emulate, and you talked me off the hill of like, dude, we're not Kevin Smith.
Right.
It's not going to work. I'm like, oh yeah, that's true.
But yeah, what'd you guys think? First time for anybody? No? Okay.
Now this is my second watch. I remember I was real excited for this when it came out because of stuff like, because of Dogma, not because of the backlash from it, but because it had such a sharp wit and kind of like biting, and I was expecting this to be more satirical and for it to go a lot farther than it did. So when I first watched it, I thought it was really disappointing. Because Michael Park is phenomenal in it, but everything else, I just wanted it to go way farther than it did.
Big fuck you.
And I was not in the way like I wanted the end to be like, Gabriel shows up. Although that would have been awesome too if Gabriel had shown up like, I'm not here to rescue you fucking assholes. Yeah. Like you're the ones I'm here to kill. But it just didn't. I just really wanted it to take the piss out of the religious Looney Tunes. And instead it was just an action movie where the religious Looney Tunes happened to be the bad guys. So I wanted it to be like snarkier, I guess, or something. And more making them look fucking buffoonish and just taking them to task for being the worthless fucking assholes that they are in real life. But on this rewatch now, having all those expectations taken away, because a lot of times if you go back and watch a movie you didn't like the first time because it didn't meet some expectation you had for it, and then you let that simmer for a good long time and then go back knowing that it's not going to be what you wanted it to be, then it gets a little better. And this time I actually enjoyed it a lot more. Still not a perfect movie. It's not remotely my favorite Kevin Smith movie.
Sure.
But there's a lot of stuff to love about it. There's some good action. Some great performances, not just Michael Park, but I mean, fucking John Goodman's great every time he shows up in anything. Kevin Pollak is a lot of fun, but he's in the movie for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Stephen Root.
Stephen Root.
Yeah. There isn't that much Kevin Smithing in the dialogue. Like, there's still some. There's a little bit at the beginning when the high school kids are talking about going and getting laid. Like, of course, that kind of has that tone. And then the back and forth between John Goodman and the committee that's
at the end.
There's a little bit of the bullshit there that like the dialogue could have been it just felt kind of lazy, like he was just throwing that in because people expected it of him. Like it could have used a couple more passes to just sharpen it up or something. I don't know, but yeah, I still think it should have gone farther and been grosser too. Like the horror stuff just could have been a little more horrific, but it's pretty good for what it is.
Yeah, I really like this one a lot myself, and I know what you're saying there, Brian. I mean, the first time I watched it, I loved it because it was just so nothing you would expect from Kevin Smith at all. Down to some of those action scenes. I mean, there's actually some legit physical action going on. You don't get that in a Kevin Smith movie. Although there's still some trademark how Kevin Smith would direct an action scene where people are hiding behind cars and you're focused on that instead of the actual action. You still get those kind of moments, but there's definitely a lot more. It felt like a lot more effort to get.
The camera left the tripod at least a couple times.
Right. It doesn't look like a Kevin Smith movie. At times, it still sounds like one, but
and it just
rarely looks like one.
It's got the saturated colors, so and a lot more earth tone to it. So it's got a grittier look. It's got a lower quality, film stock look to it. So which I think enhances the horror part of it, where it's just a little bit more. This is not a good comparison at all because it's but a little more Texas Chainsaw Massacre-y.
Yeah,
but that's an extreme. That's an extreme example.
When the kid gets loose at the end and he's running through the house, and they're chasing him with the gun, like that is that.
Yeah.
I definitely got those vibes from that sequence.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think the dialogue doesn't have the Kevin Smithyisms that you were talking about, Brian, but I still feel like it has the Kevin Smith dialogue of like the dialogue is written smart. Those Michael Park speeches are amazing and haunting, and yes, you can give most of the credit to his performance, but that's also some good writing in some of those speeches. And another one of my favorite bits of dialogue is in that barn when John Goodman's like trying to fight his orders
on the phone, yeah.
And then he is fighting with the other guy when he now is following those orders. I just think that scene's just amazing. And I think that has a lot to say about the writing as well. It could be a bit off-putting for some people because it jumps around a lot. Like the movie starts off so focused on these teenagers, but by the end of the movie, they felt like a footnote, And then it becomes Michael Parks' movie, but then it becomes John Goodman's movie, and then it becomes somebody else's movie. And then it goes back to John Goodman. So it's hard to, say who the star is, who our protagonist is, because it just really jumps around that much, and it's a little jarring as far as that goes. I don't personally mind it, but I feel like that could be off-putting to some. Sure. Yeah, love it. I don't know what else to say.
I haven't seen it probably since it originally came out, and my expectations, unlike Brian's, were like low because I was like, Kevin Smith can't do a horror movie. Like this is gonna be goofy. Right. So what he did actually was he brought this and Zack and Miri Make a Porno to Weinstein, and Weinstein was like, "You're not a horror guy. I'm not doing that, but I'll make Zack and Miri." But the beginning was pretty hard to watch. These kids are not great actors, and their dialogue is super cringy. And like Nikki's never seen it, so I was like, "Let's watch it together." And then we start watching it. I'm like, "Oh man, I don't remember this being this bad." And then like when they, when the bad shit starts hitting, when shit starts hitting the fan, and they wake up in the cage in the church, I'm like, that's when it kicks off into the movie that I loved. And then it was like, okay, we're good. This is still good. This is still rad. John Goodman's still awesome. Michael Parks is still fucking great. That scene where the sheriff pulls up to and he sees the car and it's so tense. It's so fucking tense.
Watching
with him and Michael Parks.
Golden tongue his way out of it.
Yeah.
Yep. He's charming his way out, and then it clicks. And I didn't realize we had such like a Breaking Bad reunion on this one, but
yeah.
But yeah, that scene's really great. And I mean, I can't say anything you guys haven't said. Michael Parks is great. He was truly scary in this, in his look and his acting. And this is like shit that's really scary in real life because these people fucking exist. Like,
he's scary because he's a real person out there.
Right. Yeah. And the influence they have over others and the world is just, that's scary. So still really good. And I agree with Mike saying like it jumps all over, but I sort of love that in this movie is like,
I think
it takes us along for the ride and you sort of forget about the kids. And then it's like, wait, why are they? Oh, this is why they're here. And then he doesn't really hold back with like, I'm not going to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but
it's crazy that they do what they do with these.
But it's sort of, and then again, sort of has like a weird twist ending, but just really cool. It almost feels like when Carpenter made Starman, he was just sort of like, I'm going to make this to show you that I can do this. And then I'm going back to my horror stuff. Like he almost made Starman to be like, I am a great filmmaker and can do stuff that's not horror. I just don't, I like horror and that's what I'm going to do. So Kevin Smith was like, I can make a serious, scary horror movie. I just choose not to, but I just want to show the world I can. I got it out of my system. Now back to Jay and Silent Bob, fart and teabag or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm happy that he did it, and it worked, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of trying it and then like it actually sucking horribly or something like that.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
So
I'm like...
It's really great that it turned out to be a pretty dang good movie.
Yeah. And thank God he didn't, like, try to shoehorn Johnny Depp as a weird detective into it or something. You know, because Tusk would be so much better without him. Anyways.
I am a huge Kevin Smith fan, but I will admit that is probably one of his biggest problems is when he gets an actor in there in his film that he likes, especially if he finds them funny or their performance funny, is not directing them. When he stops directing the actor and just lets them do their thing, because 9 times out of 10 it screeches the movie to a halt. You're kind of standing there scratching your head, you know, like what is this? And the Johnny Depp stuff, I think it's amazing, but it does not fit in those movies because, like Tusk, for example, his big long speech in the middle of Tusk just stops the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway. Cool. What trivia do you have for Red State, Dad?
There's quite a bit about this. Released on tour in March 2011, Kevin Smith invited the Westboro Baptist Church and specifically Megan Phelps Roper over Twitter to attend the Kansas City screening and Q&A. Megan and around 15 other members of the Westboro Baptist Church attended the screening, and some brought their young children. Smith warned the family that the film's content was for a mature audience and not suitable for children, but was promptly told off by the church members. Less than 20 minutes into the screening, the entire Westboro Baptist Church audience attending the event walked out outraged by the film's content. Megan called the film filth and a vulgar piece of tacky melodrama. I don't have this in my notes. I also read that he knew that they would picket the screening, so sort of like he did with Dogma, he had another group come and picketing and make fun of them. So there was like 2 pickets out front, which is just a Kevin Smith thing.
Love it.
Yeah. And on the technical side of things, this was shot over a period of 25 days in sequence using all digital at the time, which was new, a red camera system. So Kevin Smith could actually edit the footage on the day he shot it. So because of this, between shooting scenes, Smith would be editing nonstop, and as a result, 2 days after the last shot was done, he was able to show a fine cut of the film to the cast at the wrap party.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Because they shot in order and because he was editing as they went, it was ready at the wrap party, which is fucking crazy. And something else I found interesting, there was no score for this film, obviously, but the entire soundtrack consists of songs sung within the film itself. Little did Kevin Smith know Michael Parks was actually a country singer early in his career who sang with the likes of Johnny Cash. Many of the country gospel songs sung in the film were suggested by Parks during filming. Later, after the film was completed, Parks re-recorded the songs onto an album.
Nice.
Yeah, Parks' little singing moments were creepy and ugh.
And to know that like those were like his that he had, and yeah, it's sort of
cool.
Cool.
Sweet. All right. So yeah, unanimous on Red State. Let's see if we can keep this going. Brian, what's our next film?
Next movie is the classic Roger Corman, Vincent Price, Edgar Allan Poe movie, The Masque of the Red Death.
The Masque of the Red Death. Personalized by the motion picture screen's Prince of Horror, Vincent Price.
Corruptum.
No, I beg of you! Mercy, mercy!
With the devil's own darling, Hazel Court.
Lord Satan, send me a demon, so I may know I'm to be your wife.
And a lost, virginal angel of innocence, Jane Asher.
I want to help save your soul so you can join me in the glories of hell.
No, never.
She's a woman cursed by Satan's seneschal, whose very existence turns the white rose blood red.
Diamonds, rubies, emeralds, pearls.
Lavishly, he plants his corrupting seeds of sin, spreading living terror that not even the unsullied can escape. Nor can one who craves all the forbidden pleasures of the depraved.
Each man creates his own heaven, his own hell. Let me see your face.
All right. Prince Prospero is kind of a dick.
Kind of.
He is riding through one of the villages which he holds sway over, and hops out and decides to take the lovely young Francesca with him, and her lover and her dad spring to her rescue, and he decides that they're going to both be put to death. When she begs for mercy, he says, I tell you what, you can all come back to my place tonight, and for funsies, you can pick which one of them I don't kill. At the same time this is happening, the Red Death, which is sort of stand-in for the bubonic plague, or one of the many other horrible things that killed half of Europe before medicine was a thing, is found to be in the village. So he orders the whole rest of the village burned to the ground, and then decides to throw a great big party at his house for all of the other nobles in the country, as long as they don't pass through any villages known to have the Red Death in them at the time. So one guy doesn't obey that rule and takes a shortcut and gets a crossbow bolt in his neck for his trouble. But eventually some satanic shenanigans happen. His dwarf jester, Hop Toad, I don't know why they renamed him Hop Toad instead of Hop Frog, burns one of the guests alive for a laugh. And of course, at the end of the day, big castle walls aren't going to keep out a disease. So everybody die. This one was a dream project for Corman. He although he started with House of Usher, he was always kind of working up to wanting to do Masque of the Red Death. I'm not entirely sure why, because it's an extremely short story, I suppose, because all the visuals described in it are called to him, and he thought he could do a lot with that on screen, something to that effect. It was originally written by an unknown writer named John Carter, not of Mars, just regular old Earth John Carter. But after 2 drafts came back way too long, like 2.5+ hours long worth of movie, which, Corman don't play that.
Yeah,
and far too scholarly in the language. It was given to Charles Beaumont, which was one of Corman's go-to writers for many, many years, before it was eventually finished by Robert Wright Campbell, who had worked with Corman before on Machine Gun Kelly, Teenage Caveman, and The Young Racers. This one was shot in England rather than Hollywood, unlike all the other AIP Poe movies, which annoyed Corman so much because their unions demanded all these extra tea breaks. And he was real mad about losing the shooting time. But it did give the movie a lot of extra production value, because Daniel Haller, Corman's production designer for all of these movies, was one of the few AIP stalwarts to come over to England with him. Got to scavenge a lot of the sets from a big prestige picture about Thomas Becket. It starred Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole, John Gielgud. So, it was a movie that had a lot of money thrown at it. And that's why Prospero's Palace looks so much more lavish than even the other stuff that Haller put together. Like, you've seen Pit and the Pendulum or House of Usher. Haller was a hell of a production designer. But being able to take these, like, one of the sets from this movie probably cost as much as an entire other movie they would have made at AIP. Yeah. Jane Asher, who played Francesca, was dating Paul McCartney at the time of this movie, and so he came to set one day to see what was going on, had lunch with Roger. He had no fucking clue who Paul McCartney was. He was like, "Oh, you seem like a nice young man. Come have lunch with me."
Take that out of the trivia there.
Sorry. She was only 17 at the time she made this. She did a few other horror things. She had an uncredited role.
17.
Yeah. She was in the Quatermass Experiment. It was uncredited, but she was a tiny child in that. And just recently, she did some voice work on a couple of Doctor Who audio dramas.
There we go.
JFK was assassinated during the filming, which means Doctor Who also debuted during filming, because the first episode of that went out only a day before the assassination happened. And speaking of Doctor Who, one of the partygoers who doesn't have any lines. What's that?
We weren't, but you just keep going.
Well, I'm speaking of Doctor Who. So. One of the partygoers who doesn't have any lines looks an awful lot like Christopher Neame. His first credited role that I could find isn't until 1970, but he's got a very striking, sort of evil-looking face. Like, I know everyone has seen him in some movie or other, because he's in a lot of stuff, and you'd know him if you saw him. And I'm fairly certain it's him. He was in some Hammer horror stuff, but most importantly, he was Skagra in the 4th Doctor serial Shada, which was unfinished because of a studio technician strike. I'm really glad this one got included, because I'd actually been looking for an excuse to rewatch this one. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I love all these movies. Fucking Vincent Price, Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe, an unbeatable combination. Not a single one of the Poe movies, and even after Corman left, some of the later on ones like Oblong Box are still great. Like, just these Vincent Price and gothic horror go together like fucking peanut butter and chocolate in a Reese's cup. There's just something about it that it's always fun.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I think I'm officially decided that Vincent Price is my all-time favorite villainous actor. Anytime he plays and all these Vincent Price movies we've been revisiting over the here lately over the past year or so for the show has just cemented that for me. And this whole movie kind of hinges on him and his performance, and
he's the best.
He is the best. This movie is gorgeous. Yes, I think this is just an amazing looking film, and with its production value, I feel like rivals stuff that was coming out of Hollywood at the time. So, and the color palette, me, and love a lot Love a lot of colors. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of use of red in this, but there's a lot of other bright colors going on in this movie that I really enjoy. Yeah, love it.
Something that's interesting that because Masque of the Red Death is such a short story, they needed to flesh stuff out, so they brought in another Poe story called Hop Frog, which, like I said, I don't know why they changed it to Hop Toad in this. It's not like they were worried about copyright or whatever. They had already licensed all the Poe stuff, but it's actually toned down a little bit in this, because in the original Hop Frog story, I listened to the audio versions of both of the stories this morning at work, and in Hop Frog, the story, he burns a king and a bunch of courtiers alive. It's the same trick. He tricks them into getting into ape suits, because apparently that's just a thing people had laying around in their closets back then. And tricks them under a chandelier, like, I'll take you all out in chains, and then he ties them up and yanks them into the air and sets them on fire and burns them alive. So I mean, that's pretty dark shit for like that, and that sequence gets pretty brutal for, there were brutal movies around the same, or there were movies made around the same time that were more brutal, but for one of these things, like, they never are quite that mean. Like, Corman's movies never got real nasty until like the 70s. But yeah, that's a pretty rough sequence. And it's also, I love the way at the end, all the different diseases that plague the land kind of get together and wander off to, have a disease party or something.
Yeah, that was a neat little surreal tag there on the end of the film. And they're all in those different colored robes.
Because you figure, like, the yellow one is yellow fever, and there's obviously the black one that's the black plague. But then you start to see, like, there's a kind of lavender colored one that walks by, and it's interesting to speculate, like, I wonder which diseases these are supposed to be. And they may not have even put that much thought into it. They just grabbed a bunch of different colored robes and thought it looked cool. But
yeah.
First time watch for me, this could have been an unwrapped one, because I have the Vincent Price collection, and I was stoked to have an excuse to bust it out. I mean, this has like all the great ingredients, right? Corman, Price, and Poe together. It's beautiful. It's well performed. It's not my kind of movie, to be honest. Just the time period and the grandiose. But it's hard not to love Vincent Price being a massive dickhead and being so evil, and just watching his performance and the colors, like the beautiful colors in this movie from the time it was filmed, hard to not like it.
I think I saw almost all of these in freaking high school. I don't think I had the coolest teacher that like you did, that you talked about, but I swear a lot of these I saw in freaking high school, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But like you
saw
said,
them in class or just in that time period?
In class. In
I
schools.
could see like an English
for
teacher
the Poe part was like, hey, that's enough excuse. Let's watch this shit.
Yeah.
I know we definitely watched House of Usher in class when I was in school.
Pit in the Pen. Yeah. The sets, man, really make this stand out versus all the others. It's just, man, you just watch. It makes it feel play-y, just the size of that main room, but like it's just beautiful and gorgeous. I hate to say it, guys. Vincent Price's character is such a fucking dickhead. I checked out. I don't like this movie at all. He's a prick, and I didn't like how he is in the story, and I'll never watch this again. So do
you just dislike in all of his movies then? Because he doesn't play nice guys real often.
Yeah, but like, I just didn't like what he did in the beginning, and fuck him and fuck the movie. So I just took it. So
Boy, you should probably never watch Witchfinder General then.
I don't think I've seen it.
Because his character in that is such a bastard, it made him upset, and he argued with the director about it a lot.
Dang. Yeah, I'll be gone that day.
Well, I think maybe part of what can be off-putting about this movie is that it feels like for the majority of the movie, that's just all it is. It's just an exercise in Vincent Price being awful to people.
And it made me check out. That's all I'm saying. It's just it was too much in the first half, and I just couldn't do it. I didn't enjoy it at all. So
could have used maybe more story to offset just.
I mean, yeah, I did my best to follow the girl, because I thought she was great. I mean, everybody was great in it for the most part, It's just, the story just upset me, and I was out. So it's too bad. But I mean, I like Poe, and I like all this, Corman, and Vincent Price is the best, greatest of all time. It's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Tad, when you watched this from your Vincent Price collection, did you watch it with the intro? Or did you just go straight to the movie?
I went straight to the movie, and it was like 2 different versions, but there were only a minute difference.
Because the intros on those Price collections are all from a series that he hosted on Masterpiece Theater on specifically Iowa Public Television.
Okay.
Which is really neat.
Which is probably where I think I'd seen these for the first time, honestly.
Because whenever I pop one of those in, I always watch the intro because it's just fun to hear him being, giving all this purple prose about how ghoulish and whatever the movies are. And every time I say, God, I wish I had known those were on PBS. I totally would have sat down and watched these when I was a kid. And some of them I did see when I was a kid. I'd rent them from the video store or whatever. But yeah, I never caught them on public television. But I just think it's neat that these specifically Iowa Public Television bumpers are on these Blu-rays that you can get
worldwide.
Yeah,
Iowa has the sense to hire Vincent Price to intro movies on their PBS, and because I vaguely remember Masterpiece Theater, and could have sworn there was this that was seeing Vincent Price back in the day, but that was a long time ago, and not even knowing or appreciating who Vincent Price was or what these movies were. I think it was more of just watching from behind the couch as my mom was watching these. I think boils down to it.
The thriller guy.
Too scary for you, yeah.
Yeah, at that age, definitely would have been, yeah. Cool. What trivia do you have left for this one, Tad?
Well, I still have some. Roger Corman did not enjoy filming the production in England because of the disruptions caused by the heavily unionized crew's insistence on regular tea breaks.
I already said that.
Oh.
I missed that. Okay, you might have already had all of these then. I was just trying to edit furiously as you were ruining my segment. Did you talk about his interview in the Cult Cinema Retro magazine?
No.
In an in-depth interview in the Cult Cinema Retro magazine, Corman nominated The Masque of Red Death alongside The Intruder and X, the Man with X-Ray Eyes as his personal favorite amongst his own films.
Cool. Yeah, I know he's always had The Intruder in high regard, which is a very un-Corman-like film.
It's really good, though.
It's
can
really
see
good.
why, and just being proud of how daring that production was. He and Shatner damn near got killed making that movie.
Yeah.
And I would also agree with him. X-Ray Eyes is my favorite Corman directed movie too. So.
The leather armor Prospero's soldiers wear over their chainmail is the same used by the gladiators in Ridley Scott's Gladiator, 57 years later.
Nice.
Huh.
I love Gladiator.
Good to know it held up.
Yeah. And that's my trivia.
Sweet.
Unless you want to hear about Paul McCartney again.
Just one more time.
All right. So, Tad, what is our next movie?
Our next movie is Dario Argento's Deep Red.
I can feel death in this room. A presence. You have killed, and you will kill again.
The murderer is a schizophrenic paranoid. Anyone who kills with such frenzy surely does it in a state of temporary madness. And when he kills, he must recreate these specific conditions.
What was that? I saw a man in a brown raincoat walking away from the building.
What are you doing messing around with this business anyway? I told you to stay out of it.
What is it?
Didn't you hear that?
There's somebody in the house absolutely trying to kill me.
If you hadn't stuck your damn nose in it all.
What I saw was a reflection in a mirror. I saw the face of the murderer.
So they did the old fade out on the trailer. Okay.
Yeah.
One night, musician Marcus Daly, looking up from the street below, witnesses the brutal axe murder of a woman in her apartment. Racing to the scene, Marcus just manages to miss the perpetrator. Or does he? As he takes on the role of amateur sleuth, Marcus finds himself ensnared in a bizarre web of murder and mystery where nothing is what it seems. This one I've seen a few times. I mean, Joe Bob showed it, so of course I've seen it, and I've seen it before that. Not my favorite Dario film. I got back into it, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, I had a hard time getting through this even when Joe Bob was showing it. Hearing that music in the trailer, I'm like, man, I could probably go for the rest of my life not hearing that again.
Come on!
It's
really?
It's cool at the beginning, but man, is it just
use it a
looped and
lot.
looped and looped and looped throughout the movie. Every
It's so
time.
fucking good.
Yeah.
It is good, but it's just,
I know,
too much
I
of a
know.
good thing.
I get
And there's this scene. This movie has like cool scenes, but it's not overall even top Argento for me. It's like, let's just get to the kills, and even the kills, some of them, like at the end, like the truck drag thing, it seemed very like Benny Hill. I'm like,
Wow.
don't love it. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
I hope I'm
Brian
not
to
alone.
laugh. That was great.
So what you're saying is you wanted yakety sax more than the
Yeah.
score.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be more befitting of how dignified this movie is than the Goblin score, anyway.
Well, explain yourself.
Yeah. Explain yourself.
This movie blows.
Come on! Why?
It's just fucking nonsense. Like, if
Italian horror movie.
Well, okay, and that excuse works when it's something like City of the Living Dead, where there's a supernatural element. But here it's not. This is supposed to be a murder mystery, which means the clues are supposed to make fucking sense. The police are fucking useless. The main character should have been thrown in jail as their prime suspect the minute he opened his damn mouth. And when he's like, oh, I remember seeing this piece of peeling wallpaper that reminds me of a fucking nursery rhyme that I read in this book when I was in school, and I bet that means the killer is this guy we've never fucking mentioned before.
Italian horror.
No, again, that only applies when it's supernatural. If it's just a murder mystery with a human killer, no. Well, yeah, but if your excuse is, it's Argento, then I will point you to The Card Player and Do You Like Hitchcock and Dracula 3D and all the fucking garbage he made in the last 20-some years.
Dracula at some point.
I would rather watch Dracula 3D than this again, because that movie is at least entertainingly terrible and not just boring.
So bonkers that it's entertaining. That's the difference. This is not entertaining.
Mike is rubbing his eyes.
Oh.
He's
crying?
Yeah, he can't believe what he's hearing.
Well, no, I'm not.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not disagreeing with anything that they're saying. Honestly,
No.
this most recent watch for me was like, I've forgotten all but like a couple moments of this movie,
Yeah.
and now sitting here talking about it, I've forgotten everything but a couple moments of this movie.
Yeah,
because it's
remember the doll.
too goddamn
the doll
long.
scene is like
Why? Why is that fucking doll there?
Yeah,
what is that for?
It's the cool. To me, it's the coolest scene in the whole movie. Yeah, because it's got a cool little misdirection. It's definitely Argento really trying to bring out his inner Hitchcock but just worried about the set pieces and not, like you're saying, Brian, story structure. Because yes, why is the doll there? What this doll is just out of nowhere, and why is it running towards this guy? How is that even working? So yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But yeah, I don't know. I just found it kind of boring. This particular watch. It's I don't hate it. It's definitely not the Card Player or freaking I love Opera.
Trauma.
Opera's probably one of my
Opera's my
favorites.
favorite.
Yeah, Opera's
No,
good.
I was trying to remember the one Giallo. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What an
Isn't that the name of the
original
one with Adrian Brody?
New one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
newer
there's
one.
another one with called Dark Glasses or something like that too.
Yeah, that's
this
a
is
really,
the
really
newest
new
one.
one. Yeah. Which I'm scared to pull the trigger on.
Yeah, I have. I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
I think I'm done.
Yeah, it's a bummer, and I want to elevate this Deep Red more just because of, again, it's like it just feels like after Opera it was just over, and he's done more movies since then than in the first half of what we all supposedly love of Argento, and that kind of scares me a little bit. So to then
He had
take
a
one
very narrow window of greatness. And I'll say
Yeah.
I am really not a big fan of giallo movies in general. I've tried; they seem like something I should love, and I've really tried. I've watched a bunch of them, but even like they at least generally the trail of clues makes sense and the story is coherent. But
Yeah,
this one is
yeah.
just a bunch of fucking babbling nonsense.
Yeah.
Guys, I
But that
thought
score is. I don't
thought-
care what Ted says.
I thought you guys loved movies where the director's on a lot of drugs. I thought you were into that.
I do.
So
Usually.
like, well, why now? No, you're
It wasn't enough drugs.
right. You,
Yeah.
I actually completely agree with everything that everybody said, except for the score part. Give me that. I would say just give me the soundtrack, and I'll skip the movie. But I mean, at the same time, like it's still the '70s Argento. Give it to me all fucking day. I don't care.
Yeah.
That film quality, that
The look
wacky,
and everything. Yeah.
wacky Italian craziness. If you can't expect anything to make sense. I get that this is worse than that, but like
Bird with the Crystal Plumage makes sense.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a much better movie. Just
Yeah.
doesn't have red in the title, so we couldn't
I
watch
know.
it.
I mean, I agree with you, but like, it's to me, I still just lump Deep Red in with the good Argento, and because fucking Goblin, man, I can't. It can't be denied for
God,
that
yeah.
for me. Like hearing that, just that little bit in the trailer, a fucking goosebumps of excitement and like it's such a cool. Yes, they use it too much. I agree, but man, I love it so much. Everything Goblin does is fucking brilliant, and it carries this movie for me, I guess, because what you're all saying is actually true too, because it's bad shit.
Yeah, it's tough to say because it's tough to say that the bad things about it just because it's from that era, and I know what you're saying too, Jason. Because I mean, in the height of my love for Argento, I would have defended this movie till the end of time.
Yeah.
But I think the rose-colored glasses have come off over the years, especially seeing that he can do a lot of wrong.
Right. Oh, it is possible.
A lot of wrong.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, so it's definitely hard to defend now, but it just has that feel of other films of his from that era. So
Yeah.
it's hard, but yeah, it's a little bit of a homework. Feels like
It's
watching
like it
now.
looks right and it sounds like, so why does it feel so wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, that song is so good.
Oh, I agree.
It is. I do like it. It's just that if you play the same song 100 times, to me it's like I was stoked at the beginning, and then by like the 40th time it kicks in, I'm like, fucking.
I mean,
put a drill in my head.
This was one of those, like, as I recall, didn't they had split up and he got them back together for this or something? It was very short notice. Like, this is what happens when you hire a band at the last minute and they only have time to write 3 pieces of music and your movie is 6 hours long.
I don't know why. I don't know why it didn't bother me in this. Maybe because it's the best thing to hold on to. But
right.
But I when you say that, Tad, I can't disagree with you because my brain instantly goes to Baby Boy that we watched a few episodes ago, and how not only is that song that David Carradine wrote and sang plays through the whole movie, but the entire score is those same notes. It's the same. It's the song. It's the same freaking song, but now it's and now it's in a score format, and So yeah, I totally get what you're saying, but oh man, that piece, and it could be just because I just recently watched Deep Red, that I'm saying this, but it might be one of my favorite Goblin pieces.
I agree. I completely agree with that.
I would fucking I bet if they came around here and showed Deep Red and Goblin played live, I would be fucking stoked. I would love it.
Yeah.
You know, they do that. They tour and play the movie, and that's fucking cool. And so I want to be clear with the people. No hate mail. I like it. But you can have too much of a good thing and overuse it.
Especially when it comes to music. I totally get that. My tolerance for repetitive music is very, very low. Tad, what trivia do you have for this one?
After the international success of Dario Argento's next film, Suspiria, Deep Red was released in Japan under the title Suspiria 2, even though it has no plot connections to Suspiria and was made 2 years prior to it.
This is Japan's revenge for Italians always sequelizing films that have nothing to do with the original.
Yeah. David Hemmings and Daria Nicoladi rehearsed the arm wrestling scene over 70 times, driving Dario Argento, who doesn't like to repeat things too many times, crazy in the process. And then the final one, I am about to butcher some Italian, and not in the giallo way.
Oh, okay.
The film was originally titled La Tigre Dente a Scibola, which translates to The Saber-Toothed Tiger, following the naming pattern of Dario Argento's previous movies. However, much to Argento's annoyance, other directors had started using the similar animal-related titles for their own genre films, influenced by him, so he had to go in a different direction. So because of him using the animal titles, other directors started copying him, and then he had to change it. So
interesting.
And we would not have had to watch it if it was called The Saber-Toothed Tiger.
Hey, come on.
The problem with that, I would have been more likely to watch it and been really pissed off that there wasn't a saber-toothed
tiger
cat in it. Yeah.
Yep.
Hell, even the it wasn't even just Italians. The Spanish got into it a little bit too. Paul Naschy did one called The Dragonfly for Each Corpse.
Oh, nice.
And then you got Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye and Black Belly of the Tarantula.
A lot
Cool
of
ass titles.
animal themes in the giallos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just love those long, crazy titles. One of my favorite giallo titles of all time is "Your Vice is a Locked Door, and only I have the key." I may have said it wrong, but yeah, that's pretty much the title of the movie. I love it.
Yeah, this podcast was almost called Attack of the Killer Tiger's Blood. I got
He's not wrong. All right, so yes, was that it for trivia, Ted?
That is it.
Okay, sweet. All right, gang, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to finish off the show with our last couple of segments. Right now, though, you're going to hear a promo for our podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. You like that little suspense right there?
That's good.
Thanks. The PFPN is home to so many wonderful shows, such as Fans of the Dead. Fans of the Dead is a podcast where the hosts simply just talk about their favorite genre movies. Each movie they discuss gets one of their very special brain rating. So check out Fans of the Dead and all the other shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the show. And now we want to hear from you guys, the listeners. We value your opinions sometimes. Here's Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
Well, word on the street is the people really love these color episodes, so this is a good time. We asked, what are your favorite red horror movies? Red in the title.
This is the only second one, man.
I know, wait, they don't even know what's in store. Part red in the title, part of the story, etc. Red. If you haven't guessed, red. On our Facebook page, we got attacker Abe Kirshner.
Abe!
He says, we, BTAA, that's the Brett and Tony with Ash and Abe podcast, had a lot of fun with The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. And, of course, The Shining. Red rum.
There you go.
Red Queen Kills 7 Times. Y'all see that?
No.
Nope.
But BTAA said
another giallo.
Okay. We got Ralph Miller. He says Masque of the Red Death. Oh yeah, 64. And he says he's got a lot more. He listed them all. He put The Angry Red Planet.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have 2 different colorways of glow in the dark vinyl toy of that goofy fucking monster.
I believe that. And he also says Unwelcome from 2023 had murderous red caps in it. Unwelcome.
Cool.
He also says The Tingler from 1959 was black and white except for the red blood shown during the acid trips.
I love that scene. Oh, it just looks so cool. Just the red, just those hints of red in the black and white. The bathtub full of blood and the faucet bleeding, and oh, so cool.
And lastly, he says, also Lon Chaney Sr. as Eric, disguised as the Red Death in the Masquerade Ball in the rare 2-strip Technicolor scene in The Phantom of the Opera, 1925.
Yeah. Paul Bearer Press just put out a really kick-ass long sleeve shirt with that
cool
motif.
They do such cool stuff. Up next, we got Nightmare Junkhead. That's right. 2 weeks ago, you would have heard us on the Nightmare Junkhead show. That was pretty awesome, right?
That was fun.
Sorry, Brian, if you hadn't listened yet.
I haven't had a chance yet. I'm assuming my boy Hellboy
didn't quite make it.
Yeah.
Put up a good fight, though. Spoilers. Nightmare Junkhead, awesome dudes. They said they just watched Profondo Rosso, a.k.a. Blood Red, and it's a reminder of why you should always make room for Giallo. You see what he did?
That's cute.
Must have been genius. Up next, we got Jacob McLaughlin. He says,
I know that guy.
Yeah. He says, Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me. Several scenes are in the Red Room of the Black Lodge, and the section at the Bang Bang Bar is bathed in red light. Tad approves that one. Crimson Peak, pretty much self-explanatory. A lot of red in that.
Crimson is a color of red.
Yep. Don't Look Now, The Red Coat. Don't Look Now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Messiah of Evil, the blood,
fantastic.
The blood drop tears of the cult members, as well as the color being present throughout the film. And lastly, he says, Us, the red jumpsuits of the tethered.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Up next, we got Nick Leadham. He says, I second Deep Red, and I'll add Blood and Black Lace, if Giallo films can count. Of course they can. Also, My Bloody Valentine.
Woo.
Whole lot of red in that one. And then we got our pal Colby Keefe. He says, The Hills Run Red. Yep, he said that. And then over in our Facebook group, the group edition, we got some more. These comments are so great. This got this guy here, Justin Beam.
Who?
Justin B.A.M. says, Reds, Red Eye, Red Rock West, Masque of the Red Death, and The Angry Red Planet.
Sweet.
Those are all movies. Up next, we got Attacker Brandy. She says, It stains the sand red.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we should have watched that one.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
It stains. Oh, yeah, that fucking movie's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Rose Red. She also put.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Gotta have your king in there. Attacker Casey Kelderman. Deep Red for sure.
For sure.
The Reapster. The Crimson Executioner from Bloody Pit of Horror.
Fuck yeah.
Love that movie. And Color Me Blood Red.
Yes.
Need a little HGL action here. He's not wrong.
Always need some HGL action.
And then lastly, since we don't have any comments over on Threads or Twitter or X, we got Tim Lennerer. Y'all know that fella, Tim. He says, The Blob. In the 1958 movie, starts out transparent and turns red as it absorbs people. A great little detail to make the audience shiver when they figure it out.
Beware of the blob. It creeps
and leaps and slides and glides across the floor.
Did get some Brian singing in
All
this
right.
episode. So
Yes, hell yeah. Well, and let's get over there to the answering machine.
Do we have to?
Yes, we. Come on, we what? This is what we
so
asked
many
for.
years begging for people
I know,
to
right?
leave voicemails, and it never happened. And now you get them, and you're just like, oh,
Instantly turn on them.
Be careful what you wish for.
That's right. No, these are great ones. Listen up.
Hey, everybody, Attacker Brian here for my bi-weekly phone call. And it sounds like this episode we're continuing over the fucking rainbow.
See?
We're talking about the color red. Red's very important when it comes to horror movie, because that's the color of your blood, what drips out of your body.
That's true.
But if we're talking movies, we got to talk about the 1964 Roger Corman directed Vincent Price, The Masque of the Red Death. Or Herschel Gordon Lewis with Color Me Blood Red. Oh, this is a fun one.
Red.
Dead Snow 2. Red vs. Dead.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know this is a horror movie podcast. If you've ever played Red Dead Redemption, no, back in the olden days, Wild West, it's got zombies in it. And it plays like a movie. So if you like video games, you can check that out. And if you like the rainbow, we'll probably get to another color next week on the show. I'll do some fucking research to find out what movies have that in the, title and stuff. I hope you guys have a good weekend. Don't forget, you should be going to see Godzilla vs. Kong, whenever the hell the end of the movie, Godzilla vs. Kong. That's all you need to know. Go check it out. Support Godzilla. He's green, like last episode's color. And take care. Bye-bye.
I love how exasperated he's.
I know. It's unfortunate to hear he's
All these
drinking
people
again.
are going to be so disappointed when they hear what we had to say about Deep Red.
All right, we got one more voicemail from the Hot Rod.
Hey guys, Tacker Rod here again. Sounds like we're talking about movies with red in the title or part of the film. So the obvious ones that came to my mind were 2013's Code Red. But I'm not sure why you would make a movie about Mountain Dew, though. 2009's Cornered! Exclamation point, or Corn Red in French. The first E is silent. 2011's Zombie Apocalypse Redemption with Fred Williamson. Hey, even the actor has red in his name. 2018's Hereditary. There was a lot of red there, especially after the girl's head smacks into that pool. And guess what, guys? There's a whole franchise with red. 1987's Predator. 1990's Predator 2, or if you're fancy like Tad, I. 2004's Alien vs. Predator. 2007's Alien vs. Predator Requiem. 2010's Predator, that means more than one. 2018's The Predator must be royalty or something. I don't know. I even heard there's a horrifying series called To Catch a Predator, where the monsters go after children. That's kind of fucked up. Well, this episode's PSA is a simple poem. Roses are red, slime is green. To me, Tom Savini will always be sex machine. Until next time.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm so glad Tad's the fancy boy.
Well, see, Tad, I steal your trivia, and Rod stole my next thing. So.
All right. Well, all right. You, too, can leave a voicemail. We'll play it on the show. Just give us a call at 415-952-6857. That's 415-95-AOTKP. Leave us that voicemail, and that is shout-outs.
Roses are red. These movies are too. It's time for Insane's Picks. Profondo Rosso is poo.
Time to visit an old dear friend of Insane's Picks. We're going back to the demented world of Coffin Joe with his 1968 film, The Strange World of Coffin Joe. For those who are not familiar with Coffin Joe, he is a character created by writer, director, and star Jose Mojica Marins. Coffin Joe starred in films, comics, and was even a TV horror host. He was a pop culture phenomenon in his home country of Brazil. As a matter of fact, Coffin Joe is always considered like the Freddy Krueger of Brazil. Strange World of Coffin Joe is a Brazilian anthology horror film directed by Jose. It's technically the third Coffin Joe film, even though Coffin Joe is not exactly in the movie. Jose plays two parts in the film. He's the voice of Coffin Joe that does a voiceover intro at the very beginning, and he also plays the sadistic professor in the third story. The film is a collection of 3 short films. First, there's The Doll Maker, a story about a doll maker and his 4 daughters that make these dolls in their home. 4 thugs invade the home to steal from the doll maker and take advantage of the daughters. However, his new collection of dolls needs eyes, and he knows just where to get them. Obsession is the second story. It's a completely silent film about a homeless man who sells balloons and has a foot fetish. He becomes obsessed with a beautiful woman. He begins to follow her everywhere, but she is unaware that he even exists. And just as he is about to confess his love to her, he finds out that she is with another man. She eventually gets married, and as he watches the wedding, brokenhearted, the woman is murdered on her wedding day. After being turned away from her funeral, the balloon salesman returns after everyone is gone and breaks into the mausoleum where she is buried. He opens up the coffin and has sex with her body and performs his foot fetishism. That's the story. The third and final story is called Theory, and boy, oh boy, does this movie end with a bang. A psychotic professor, played by Jose, has a crackpot theory that love doesn't exist and man is just an impulsive creature. He invites a rival professor and his wife to his home, then imprisons them and subjects them to a series of sadistic ordeals, starvation, isolation, torture, and even cannibalism, in an attempt to prove that instinct overcomes reason and love. The film is not actually part of what is considered the Coffin Joe trilogy, since the title character really doesn't appear in the film. The trilogy began with my favorite, At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul, and is followed up with This Night I Will Possess Your Corpse, and is finished decades later with his film Embodiment of Evil. I love Coffin Joe movies. I love Jose's films, and this one is no exception. His movies are very low budget, with poor audio quality, often including heavy echoey sounds and layers of like wind and thunder and creatures of the night sound effects, multiple shots of lightning, and usually a tarantula or two placed in for good measure, and is always sick and twisted perversions. What made me want to talk about this film now is because it and other Coffin Joe films are currently on Shudder, so you can check this out on Shudder. Also, in 2023, there was a reissue of this film and others of Coffin Joe's films in a series released by Arrow Video with artwork by Brazilian artist Butcher Billy. The set includes, strap in, there's quite a few in his filmography in this set. At Midnight, I'll Take Your Soul. This Night, I'll Possess Your Corpse. Strange World of Coffin Joe. The Awakening of the Beast. The End of Man. When Gods Fall Asleep. Strange Hostel of a Naked Pleasure. Hellish Flesh. Hallucinations of a Deranged Mind. And Embodiment of Evil. And I want this set so freaking bad. So check out this movie and other of Jose's films on Shudder. But I recommend, if you can handle the subject matter, I highly recommend Strange World of Coffin Joe. And that is it for this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening and being tolerant of these color-themed episodes, I guess.
Okay, we don't see color.
That's right. And if you want more Attack of the Killer podcast in your life, and I don't blame you, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, Threads, all those wonderful, wonderful places. And even check us out on our site, jointheattackers.com, and become an attacker. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you all next time on Attack of the Killer podcast.
Oh no, could this be the end of?